Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
And that breaking news, if you're just tuning in, is that Chrystia Freeland has resigned as finance minister, has resigned from Liberal cabinet. And this is a bombshell in Canadian politics. With that in mind, let's head straight over to Dimitri Soudas, former director of communications for Stephen Harper, and of course, a political commentator. You can hear him on Montreal Now on an afternoon every now and again. Hi, Dimitri. Welcome to this program.
Good morning, Elias.
And it is about time that you're on this show, I say. Now, tell me about the letter here. Chrystia Freeland's resignation letter. I think it speaks volumes. What was your take when you read it?
What a bombshell. Basically, the finance minister and deputy prime minister of Canada just dropped a nuclear bomb, a political nuclear bomb on her boss, the prime minister, a man that she has supported for more than a decade. The irony of ironies, and for the life of me, I don't understand it. Reading her letter, one thing that caught my attention was that just a few days ago, on Friday, Justin Trudeau told Chrystia Freeland he no longer had confidence in her to lead the country's finances. He chose to have that conversation 3 days before the finance minister was to deliver the fiscal fall economic update. Mm-hmm. Now, you tell me, Elias, if I come into your office and say, Elias, I don't think you're the right guy for the job anymore. See you on Monday for this big announcement we're making together. You're going to take the weekend to think this through. I suspect she never gave him a heads up. The Prime Minister probably saw the letter seconds before she posted it on Twitter, which now begs many questions. The first one is, will there be a fiscal update today? It's supposed to be a fall economic update. Traditionally, these updates are given by the government sometime in October. We are now 2 days before winter on December 21st. Yeah. And the likelihood of anybody being able, so let's walk through scenarios. There is no fiscal update today, which is the most logical scenario, which means the country has no idea where public finances lie. Is the deficit going to be higher? How much higher is it?
Can I just throw something out here, Dimitri? Let me throw something out because, and again, like we had Tal Mulcair on just about half an hour or so ago to talk about this. So apparently, aren't the journalists in lockup for this right now? Because that's what happens on these. Do you have any extra details on that? And I saw Andrew Scheer posted that François-Philippe Champagne is the acting finance minister right now.
Again, is this how we want the country governed, with an acting finance minister? Only the person who wrote this document, only the person who gave her stamp of approval, her seal of approval, has any form of credibility to get up and say, here are where the country's finances are. Here's what has changed since the last budget. Here are all these new expenses that are going to be added to the books. We don't know if the capital gains tax, because it still has not received parliamentary approval, will be on the revenue stream for the government. And again, that revenue is important to the government to hopefully reduce the deficit. It is a government in total and utter turmoil. Losing the finance minister, stepping down not only as finance minister, leaving cabinet. At the end of the day, people expect some form of seriousness from their government. The Prime Minister is currently in a cabinet meeting, which was scheduled to start at 9:30 this morning. It's becoming more and more dysfunctional. Tonight we have a by-election in British Columbia that the Liberals are probably going to lose big. At what point does somebody say, at what point do cabinet members say, Prime Minister, it's time for you to resign, or Prime Minister, it's time to call an election? Yeah. We are literally governing, but in her own letter, she accuses the Prime Minister of gimmicks. In her own letter, and we saw the media coverage, and I heard it from Liberal insiders over the last few weeks. She fundamentally disagreed with the GST tax break. She fundamentally disagreed with a $250 check to $150,000 to people earning $150,000 or less. She backed the prime minister on all these gimmicky policies. And what did he do to thank her for that in order to make place for Mark Carney? Because what Mark Carney has been telling Justin Trudeau, because he's offered, so Prime Minister Trudeau's offered different scenarios to Mark Carney, all but finance. And what Mark Carney has told him back is it's finance or nothing. You know, Brian Mulroney used to say, quite rightly, you dance with the ones who brang you. And Mark Carney is not one of those people who helped Justin Trudeau become prime minister. Chrystia Freeland is. And I will wrap up on saying this. You know, just last week, he took the stage, grandstanded on being a big feminist, and today he showed once again that his finance minister, a woman, was collateral damage in order for him to attract the next shiny object, being Mark Carney. Now, will Mark Carney say yes? Hey, if I was Mark Carney, there is no way in hell after today that I would enter this cabinet and enter this government.
We're with Dimitri Soudas, a political commentator. Dimitri, I said on this show this morning, why would anyone buy a ticket for the Titanic after it's collided with the iceberg, which is what Mark Carney would be doing here if he were to accept an offer at this point? So let me throw one thing at you.
Or why would anybody enter a burning building doused in gasoline?
Yeah. You know, it does not make any sense. But, I want to point out something you posted on Twitter, okay? In reaction to me, because sometimes logic or rationality doesn't apply. So here's what I posted earlier on in this hour. How can a confidence motion now pass in the House of Commons? There's no excuse for the NDP supporting, right? And then I added this, Chrystia Freeland just brought down the government. Your response? Stop thinking rationally. So, I mean, that's the thing, Dimitri. If people here are not thinking rationally, maybe Mark Carney is going to be the finance minister.
Maybe he will be the finance minister, or maybe Justin Trudeau. I mean, on a day like today, the prime minister has to seriously contemplate as to whether or not he remains prime minister.
Yes.
The other option is step down as prime minister. I think Tom Mulcair was talking about it, and I thought Tom was completely out the left field. Tom was actually potentially right on this one. After today, how can the prime minister remain leader of the party and leader of the country when his own finance minister and deputy prime minister said, I no longer have confidence in you?
And let me ask you, Dimitri, doesn't the NDP, doesn't Jagmeet Singh have to have a press conference like now saying this government doesn't have our confidence, we are bringing them down before someone else does it for them, like Justin Trudeau saying we're going to the polls? Like, that's what I'm wondering here on that point. How does the NDP at all think about supporting this government?
Well, I think the only calculation that the NDP is making, wrongfully so, is two things. Number one, they have no money. Number two, their chances of winning more seats is slim to none, possibly winning less seats. So they're making a purely political, partisan calculation that basically if we were to have an election now, we would not do well, and therefore let's keep this government afloat until hopefully somewhere a rainbow shows up and our electoral chances become better. The reality is that the country has officially become dysfunctional. When the finance minister basically says, I'm out, what is there left to do other than to have an election?
That's what I think a lot of people are asking. And I guess, maybe they can put the Maserati on Uber Premium or something and bring in some extra cash for the NDP if it comes down to money, Dimitri. Because at this point, I'm like, I don't care if you're going to go into debt. We need an election at this point. Got to leave it there. Dimitri, thank you so much.
Have a great day, Elias.
Dimitri Soudas is a political commentator and former director of communications for Stephen Harper.